Science Survival is here. ABIOTIC Factor is now available on Steam and I'm giving you my tips guide on how to get started. It had a demo up for a while, so I had a good amount of time spent in that, and now I've had a good few hours in the early stages. Hopefully my tips are going to keep you alive a little bit longer and not make the same mistakes I did. If you do find this video useful, check out the rest of my guides content, and if you want to see more on ABIOTIC Factor, make sure you smash the like button. Let's go. Super obvious, but you might not realise or not want to take the risk, but you can go ahead and customise ABIOTIC Factor to whatever liking you want. Remove a lot of the survival aspects, make it even more hardcore. But you won't get these options until you've done the very beginning first part of the tutorial, so don't panic or worry if you're not seeing any of this, or you really want to customise stuff straight away. Now obviously if you bought the game, you've probably got this far. The big tip is you will earn achievements even if you have adjusted any of the custom settings. So you're not going to miss out just because you go ahead and make things a bit easier. Obviously though, some of these settings will not be able to be changed once you've begun a game, and so you'll have to create a whole new save, a new game, if you want to change anything later. It's all about preference, what kind of experience you like. I like things to be a little bit easier and get a bit more XP so I can hurry up and make more guides about stuff you can unlock. And it's all really self-explanatory, it really does a good job of telling you what it all does. But one thing I wish I had turned off was the discovering of recipes. You'll basically gain blueprint ideas or crafting ideas, and then you can go ahead and do this little mini game of placing items in these boxes, and then eventually it will give you exactly what the item is so you can go and craft it. There are so many recipes that you'll unlock, this becomes tedious pretty quickly. It's a cool concept, but I wish there was some sort of benefit or bonus. Unless I'm missing something, you don't gain anything from just guessing the right idea, getting it first time. Maybe that's something they could introduce into early access, that you get XP bonus or boost when you guess the right items. But for now, it's kind of just not worth it. With no bonus, no penalty, it's just simply padding out the time, and you can turn this off in the custom settings. In ABIOTIC Factor, the more you do, the more you learn and the more perks you'll unlock, as well as the ability to get upgrades and more advanced gear. When you begin your game, you get choice to choose some character traits, or basically jobs, making you a little role, and then you can go ahead and start the game and you'll have these bonus attributes. I wholeheartedly recommend that you go for something like either lab assistant or go for summer intern, basically the ones that are going to give you the most starting points to spend on your traits, which I'm going to explain next. Effectively, all of these available jobs are going to give you boosts in stuff like sneaking, reloading, sharp melee and blunt melee. But these are all skills that you'll increase just as you're playing the game and doing the action. Some are pretty OP in terms of jobs in the boost they give you, hence why you don't get as many available points to spend on traits. Traits can be positive and negative, but some of these positive ones are really game changers. A lot of them will just be about you choosing exactly what you want in terms of giving yourself a boost, whether it's to not needing as much food, being able to sprint. But some are pretty unique, at least until maybe later when you unlock that extra perk in getting 2 extra additional carry slots for your hotbar. Now it's pretty expensive at 10 points, that's because your limited space is kind of a big part of the game, where you have to use things like trolleys to take resources across the different bases and areas. So gaining just them 2 extra slots means you can carry a little bit more. But it does mean you're going to have to maybe add a negative point to your build, and some of these are definitely ones to avoid. Because I've already adjusted food and water though, I knew that I could probably mess around and have a little bit of thirst more hit me, because I knew there's going to be plenty of water in the game, rather than choose the perk that says when you do get bleeding damage, you're going to take a lot more damage until you heal. I'm probably going to do a separate video on some of these traits to work out exactly what ones you can earn a bit later, bonuses and buffs, but for now that's what I decided. So take your time with that, really digest and see, and just remember some of the basic skills you're going to earn anyway, so go for something that might be a bit more worthwhile in the beginning, like extra melee damage to do more damage against creatures. Of course you want to loot absolutely everything, there's so much around and it's pretty much a good idea to just grab as much as possible. A lot of the progression does rely on you going through some of these vents to get to new areas, so do pay attention to the walls. And if it looks dangerous, it probably is going to be dangerous. Things like spinning blades and electrical cables mean pretty much instant death if you go too close. It's pretty obvious stuff, but always have a good amount of bandages on you, at least 3 to 5. And I recommend having at least 2 splints. You'll be surprised how many times you might drop from height and break a leg. Using this will mean you'll heal a lot quicker. There's lots of recipes and lots of items that you want to craft. Obviously the big one straight away is getting the crafting bench set up. This will give you access to more recipes and eventually you'll be able to upgrade your crafting bench to do things like heal you. Pipe Club is really good for taking on the first little aliens that you'll come across, as they're more weak against blunt damage, and I recommend getting a plastic shield as well as the first armor set that you can craft. As long as you're gathering resources, these will unlock pretty easily and early. Another thing, especially if you've left the settings as standard, is make sure you get a battery once you've got your crafting bench down. At night time things are going to become very dark and eventually they get really cold. The battery will simply just power up your crafting bench and any heaters or any other defense stuff that you might need. You can turn this off again in the settings where the power doesn't drop off, but I feel like it is a core part of the game loop. Defenses are going to be important, but don't panic. At initial stages, initial days, you won't be attacked at night time. You'll get plenty of advanced warning as well that you're about to have something happen. These strange purple orbs will appear, or rifts, and then that's pretty much where the enemy's going to come out. So if it is right slap bang in the middle of your base, you will maybe need or want to pack up some of your gear just to risk it, avoid getting damaged. Or obviously you can make it a deathbed and make sure you put plenty of traps around, like shock traps and more, to take care of them. But in the first few raids I had, it was mostly just these guys that were relatively easy. Maybe only as you go further into the facilities and survive longer that you're going to have more dangerous creatures attack you. So good plastic shield, making sure you've got a weapon of each type, and you'll be good to go for now. Just make sure you've plugged in your battery to a wall point during the day so it fully charges up. It should last the whole night through, as long as you've only just started using it to charge up your crafting bench or whatever it is as soon as night time hits. One thing you can't get enough of is energy bricks. You'll need a ton of these, as well as the coils that you get from PCs. These are really important to make sure you always get when you come across them. There is an office area where there's a ton of PCs, and it's something that I ended up going to last, and I kind of wish I headed there first. Here's how I'm going to have a lot more enemies running around, the little spiky dudes as well as some of the bigger ones. The peccaries now fire lightning damage or like some weird dimensional purple stuff. I don't remember them doing that in the demo, so they can be tough. One item I really enjoyed using was the vacuum once you get the parts for it, as it simply is able to hoover these guys up and then just fire them and they'll be brown bread. There's plenty of signage and you'll be able to use the map to find this area, so I'm not going to roll it right out now, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, there's lots and lots of PCs here, and that is something you maybe need to bear in mind. When you need resources, it's better to aim and focus on the one thing, stock up on that one thing, and then go back home, rather than try and dismantle every cabinet, every table. You'll just simply have way too much gear on you. So if you want lots of coils, you want to build lots of energy bricks, then go ahead and don't do anything but gather plenty of the PC parts. You'll just waste a lot of your time dropping stuff in your inventory, trying to resolve which one's going to be more important, and regretting that you didn't bring everything with you that you got. You will get a backpack, so make sure you get a pipe as soon as you can from one of the walls. As you go through the vents, it will lead you to a place where you can get some. The makeshift backpack will only give you 3 extra slots, but it's definitely still worth having, and you will eventually find other backpacks in the world. In this office area again, there is a glass smaller compartment. Inside you'll find magazines on a table, which are really important for making more special homemade armour, and this basic backpack that will give you an extra 6 slots. Pay attention when reading emails on some of the bigger computers that you can't destroy, as if there is a JPEG or a picture, these can sometimes give you recipes. Now obviously you'll unlock these recipes as you get the components from them anyway, but they can give you some extra vital info. So it might be a bit tedious, God, I have to read in a science-based crafting game, but do check the journal regularly, see if there's anything you've missed, and always click on pictures. Admittedly, they're not always going to give you actual vital info for progress in the game. Sometimes it's just going to see some wrestler from WWF. Now the little spiky dudes can be challenging to kill, so do use the nets to make life easier, and then you can go ahead and just stomp on them. But you do get different materials. You need a lot of the biohazard to craft later stuff. Generally though, if you go ahead and kill them, you'll often get meat parts that you can go ahead and cook. And unless you're covered in absolute filth, there's no need to wash yourself regularly, just save that water for drinking only. Stop using your knife to go ahead and destroy stuff, use a blunt weapon as it will be a lot quicker. Remember, you can always pack up your crafting bench and move it somewhere else if you want to change location or you don't want to deal with any attacks from certain creatures at night. And if you get really used to blocking and just simply moving around quite a bit, you should be able to take on even some of the more tougher creatures with nothing but a knife. The only penalty really is that you're going to drop your backpack and you'll have to run back and get some of the resources that you lost. You generally don't lose your equipment if you've left it on basic settings. And again, as far as I'm aware, you don't even lose any like experience points or any progress towards your next level. I'm going to be doing a bit more science testing around this, but so far, yeah, it doesn't look like there's much really stopping you from losing out just because you die. Maybe some bonuses from any food that you might have eaten, but otherwise you're pretty much okay. Don't forget, if you're desperate for food as well, you can always go to the machines and you usually got $1 on you and you can find more money out in the world. Also, don't forget to take the maps that you'll find on the big boards, as these will reveal a little bit more details around that location. Lights don't seem to generate on the same kind of power, they'll actually stay alight all night, so it's well worth making a wall torch to light up a dark area and not having to panic about powering it up. If you're playing multiplayer, don't forget you can share recipes that you've already learned with players that join by just clicking on the icon next to the craft button. It's a bit small and it's something I nearly missed, but you can see here, as long as your friends are close by to you, you'll share the recipe with them so they can craft and make stuff too. And of course, use that pinned message to remember all the ingredients you need to craft or make whatever. There are lots of ways to go in obviously ABIOTIC Factor, including the weird dimensions, but they're generally shortcuts to places that you can unlock as well, with doors that you'll be able to open from the other side, or just other ways that you'll be able to get back to the central hub. So don't spend too long trying to work out how to get into a certain area with the door locked. Eventually you'll work it out. Also pay attention at night time. When the night time is here, you can't really run around the main central hall, as that's when the robots are going to come out. Now it obviously tells you this in the game, but I was still a little bit hesitant about whether or not they'd actually kill me or maybe help defend me. But no, they're going to destroy anything they see moving around at night time. It does get super dark as well, so you definitely want to make sure you've always got a torch if you are going to explore at night, but the best thing to do is head back home, do some crafting and just wait it out. And don't throw away any electrical gear just because the battery's dead. You will be able to find these special little boxes that you can put things like torches on. This is not how you charge your big batteries, that's via the sockets during the day. You can use any of the office furniture you'll find as defences. You don't need to make the makeshift barricades, that's a recipe to unlock, but they won't last as long as the ones that you can craft and make yourself. But at a pinch, put enough of these around and it will certainly give you a bit more protection than nothing at all. Also a great way to get your construction up and running as well, so that can be made faster. Loot, I do believe, does respawn eventually. You can increase the settings for it, but it might cause problems if you have it too high. That goes for enemies as well, they will eventually respawn. Maybe not always every night in every location, but definitely you will notice the next day. If you clear the whole area out, there will be more. So gather and loot as much as you can from a small area, return home and don't go too mad killing everything in sight, unless you explicitly wanted to get some of your melee and combat skills up. You'll eventually be able to find seeds that you'll be able to grow your own plants, so it's definitely worth bearing that in mind if you are starting to run out of food or sick of tired of eating radiated weird meat. The first aid kits you normally find on the walls generally have good supplies though of the anti-radiation pills that you need to get rid of it once it builds up too much. The game teaches you about this, so I'm not going to mention it too much, but yeah, don't panic and get much about the radiation. Just make sure again you've always got a packet of the pills nearby. As I said earlier, there are upgrades for your bench. The first of ones that you'll be able to get is to help you heal. But you do need to upgrade certain levels in crafting to access some of these, so it might not always necessarily unlock straight away. Some of this material you'll only find in the weird dimensions. I'm going to do a more individual guide for this because it's a bit of a way through the game before you eventually find these pockets or rifts. The short answer is, if you're looking for that special wheat, this is where you'll find it, as well as the hearts from some of these more advanced peccary style creatures. They'll often lead to shortcuts back to certain other areas in the game as well. So do take advantage of them if you do need to get to an area but you can't work out how to get past the danger, like the electrified water on the floor here. You can make ropes that you can climb up and down on, but you do have to put them from up down, if that makes sense. You won't be able to apply them to something higher than you. You can only put it on something so that you can climb down it at first. Eventually you will have more NPCs turning up, but maybe not as expected. They're acting a little bit weird, like this guy that just wanted to go around on all fours. But they have got some uses. He can be fed, and if you feed him enough, he'll drop some maybe valuable stuff that you can use, like this stapler. And I think that's pretty much where we're going to leave it at. Hopefully some of these beginner tips are going to help you survive a bit longer, or just get you through certain things a bit less grindy. ABIOTIC Factor is about pinpointing exactly what you need for resources, making sure you don't overstuff yourself with just useless junk, and exploring every nook and cranny to see if there's any secret vents or doorways that you may not have realised open to another area. Pay attention to the big signs and the hub area about where to go next and the maps that you can find, and make sure you always go through and unlock all the crafting ideas so you've always got a choice in stuff to make. I've got a lot more individual guides incoming, so hopefully you'll enjoy them. And like I said, if you do want to see me live stream this, make sure you subscribe so you've got the notification bell dinged, and I'll see you for more soon.